Hello everybody, this is Warlord, and I'm here today to discuss a new prop that I've put in the marketplace that is probably one of my favorites. It's an extremely versatile prop. It's more like a kit than it is a single prop. This prop is the War Machine. It's a science fiction based prop based on machines that come from games and also from movies. You've seen things like it in Mass Effects, and you've seen things like in War of the Worlds. It has tentacles that you can detach and use with anything. It has legs that have a built-in walk motion that you can detach and use with other objects. Coming up will be my tutorials to demonstrate how to use the prop and how to make different things with it. I really hope you enjoy this prop because it was a lot of fun to create in Studio Max, a lot of fun to animate, and a lot of fun to bring to you. Thanks for your support. And this prop is actually several props in one. It has not been merged, so there are several things that you can build out of this prop, other than just what you see originally. Now, I've loaded the War Machine. As you can see, it's quite large. So with the War Machine selected, I'm going to hit the Home button. And you can tell, and I have a large grid. You can tell that this is a rather large prop. Now, another way to tell would be to put in one of our characters. And there you can see poor old Chuck way down there. So this is a pretty good sized prop. Now let's go visit Chuck. Because something you're going to notice that's attached is the ragdoll. And this is done so it's already attached to the tentacle for you. And that way, if you want a little ragdoll movement, you can have it just by attaching the character, which we'll do here in just a minute. Now this actually consists of several props. One of the reasons the War Machine is attached in this manner when you get it is basically for the Perform menu. This way even new users to iClone can easily use the Perform menu, because only certain parts of this particular model have Perform menus to them, which is basically the legs, which has a walking menu to it. Of course, the tentacles, some of those have 1 to 3 different types of motion to them, and it depends on how you hook those up as to what's seen on the top menu. So I've hooked it up in this manner so that the entire menu just comes to the top and it's easy to see. Now we can change this. We can put things together how we do things and make different things, but it will change this menu. In fact, we may even lose this menu. And if that's the case, then if you wanted to go to a walk and you didn't see the walk in your menu, you would have to go to that particular component, like War Machine legs, and go to the Perform menu, and walk would be in there without all the rest of these, because it would no longer be attached in this order. Now we'll also do that later. But right now, why don't we go ahead and see about hooking Chuck up to the ragdoll for those of you that haven't done it. So let's go ahead and hook up Chuck. So what we need to do is maneuver into a position where we can see Chuck, but we really do need to see the dummy more than anything, or at least be able to see the limbs we're going to hook up to. So we've got Chuck selected. We're going to right click, motion menu, motion layer, and we're going to use the reach target. We're going to click on each target, and we're going to go hand to hand. Foot to foot. And so forth. Now, if you don't want Chuck in a bent over position, you can rotate him back from here, or you can go ahead and click and add him to one of these blocks, which is still going to rotate him in a funny position, but you're going to be slinging him around, so does it really matter how he's going to be rotated? So what we want to do now is hit Control D and turn off our dummies, and let's just take a look. And of course you don't position it a little better. But you get the idea. There's not much to it. You would of course want to move Chuck a little closer, or maybe even impale him on it. Poor Chuck, he goes through a lot. Now, like I said, this is a rather large prop. But since it is a prop, you can scale it down. So anyway, that motion right there is rather built in for you. Now, this is another thing too. These tentacles come pre-animated. And the reason is it's a little tedious to come in and animate them. You can have as many tentacles as you want. I just put these 4 on. And what I did basically was use their idle motions in most cases and slow it way down. Now, if you want to remove these, you'll need to go in and select the tentacles within the scene manager, right-click, and remove animation. Now, the legs have a built-in, just kind of a simple, lumbering, slow walk motion. When you move it, you'll need to move it very little. You'll either need to move it as each leg sets down, or move it very little at the end of the entire cycle. But this really isn't so much for movement as it is for motion within the scene. So it's going to be a huge, large, lumbering object when you do it. So when you move it, you don't want to move it very far. But in order to get the walk, go to Perform, and what you'll want to do is War Machine, Legs, Walk. Now, I'm going to slick this all the way out to 2,000. I have 2,000 frames because this is a 2,000 frame walk that is built in. It's the way it was built in Studio Max. So we're going to go back to the beginning, right click, Perform, and let's let it go through its walk cycle. Now it's not actually going to move forward. It's just going to go through the cycle. And you'll need to let the motion play all the way out. The motion will be a smooth loop. And of course you can go into the timeline and stretch it or shrink it to make it go slower or faster. Okay. Now there's not much to that. Now let's get back to the tentacles. It said the tentacles are individual props. There's actually 4 different tentacles, but you could duplicate any of them, use however many you want to use. Let's go ahead and turn back on our dummies, because there is a dummy at the tip of each tentacle. This makes it easier. These are larger dummies. The dummy that's where the ragdoll is, it's a smaller dummy, so you can see how to position the ragdoll and the character. Now, if you don't want any of these on, again, you just Control-D to toggle the visibility, or you can actually go into the scene tree, pick each one, and just delete them. There's not much to that. But this makes for easier attachment. What you can do is, if you want to attach a car, a piece of building debris, anything, you just come in here and use this point to attach it to. What this is a go-between between the tentacle and whatever you're going to attach with. So however many tentacles you have, tentacles don't have to go here. You can attach tentacles to the upper body. You can attach tentacles to the legs. They're not high poly, so you pretty much sky's the limit on what you want to do with that. Now we'll go ahead and toggle the visibility off on the dummies. Now, we have movement, and we really haven't done much. There is also a kind of a strike at pose where this leg here can strike at something. But we haven't done much, but we have achieved quite a bit of movement. But the problem with keeping this thing rigged to where the top menu is like it is the fact that we can't easily move this body, because the body is the controlling prop. The body is War Machine. So I would like to be able to move this body too. So what I'm going to do is we're going to detach and reattach in order to use this like we want to fit our needs. Now we need to take some care when we detach and reattach various components, because as you'll see, the ones that have the plus out to the side, they have their own little hierarchy. Each one has a dummy to it, and in some cases it will have the attached dummy with the ragdoll. And we really don't want to lose those associations. So grab each one with the plus, which in this case is the 4 tentacles, and you can either do this separately or in a group like this and detach it. This way they keep their hierarchy, their associations of their sub-props. Now grab the rest of the props and you can just do a mass detach with them. Now what we want to do is we can go ahead and grab the glow spheres. We can go ahead and we can grab everything except the War Machine ball joint and the tentacles. And we're also going to leave out the War Machine body. You could grab it if you want to. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach all these to the War Machine ball joint. That's going to become our new parent prop. This is all being done so we can animate the body. Now we have those attached. Now what we want to do is attach the body itself, which is the War Machine. And we of course want to attach it to the same ball joint. And now we want to reattach the tentacles in a group or individually if you want to the ball joint. But if you do it in a group, you're going to lose your hierarchy. So I would recommend that you do it individually. It's not that difficult. And there's only 4 of them in this case. You may want to add more. That's up to you. Okay. Now, we've managed to reattach and we've kept our associations. Now let's take a look at why we did this. We already had our motion, and that didn't really affect any of our motions we have right now. But what we wanted to do, or what at least I want to do, is be able to move the body. So I'm going to move down a little bit. And the War Machine is the actual body. And what you'll do is just move it however you want it to be moved. Now again, this probably should be a slow, lumbering movement. Not really something very quick, because this is going to be a large machine. These may even be too abrupt as it is. And in this manner, we were able to add even more motion. And that, of course, is just simple keyframe animation. Now, we've got this kind of motion going on, so you can imagine this going down the street or out in an open field, destroying everything in sight. Now, let's take a look at what we can do other than just this setup of the prop. Let's take a look at how we can make another prop out of this prop. First thing we want to do is let's go ahead and grab our War Machine and let's detach it. And for that matter, let's go ahead and just delete it. Now, you can already see that these are components. The legs are one piece. This ball joint is one piece. So what we can do now is let's go ahead and detach the legs. But let's not get rid of them right yet. Let's just turn them off. And this is what you have left. So you could actually have kind of a floating orb with however many tentacles you want to put on it. Makes for a pretty nice little prop itself. This is another reason for not merging a prop like this. Now this particular part of the prop also has what I call a belly hatch attached to it. which when you go to the Perform menu is just a simple open and close. And if you don't like it, you can take it off as well. Now, one of the great things that I like about iClone, like any 3D, is the ability to use primitives or anything to add to the prop. So in this case, we're going to go over to 3D Blocks, Podium. And let's see here. Let's just use Podium 8. It really doesn't matter which one. Get it positioned here. Do a little sizing. Just bear with me and you'll see what I'm doing here in a minute. I'm basically just using a primitive block to add to the prop to change the looks of it. And what we'll do is come in and grab the texture from it. And you can use any of these. You could use a round one. You could use any of these. And it doesn't necessarily have to be done just like that. You know, there's several different ways. But as you see here, you can change the way the prop looks. And of course, you would want to then attach that to the ball itself. And I would go ahead and use the ball joint because that would be the uppermost attachment point. And now that becomes part of the prop. So let's take a look at the legs. Now let's go ahead and turn off the visibility on that for right now, and let's turn on the legs. And as you can see, the legs are a self-contained component created in Studio Max, and they have a walk and a leg strike. And that's basically all there is to this. These legs can be used with just about anything you want to put on top of them, so they can be rather versatile themselves. So let's go ahead and go back to the ball joint here. We have everything attached, and once again, with a little imagination, we can turn this into another prop. We can either have a small top like that, or we can enlarge it, bring it up, and once again, you have a different prop. Now, of course, you could also change that. And you could also do some scaling by detaching, and it wouldn't scale everything that's attached to it. But you're starting to see the versatility of this prop. And you can put these tentacles anywhere you want to put them. So this prop is pretty much whatever you want to make out of it. Now let's take a look at the flashing lights. Some people don't like it. It may be too fast, or it just may not be what they want. So let's take a look at how we're going to handle that. Of course, that's a texture, so that's not going to be that difficult. Make sure you have the War Machine component itself selected with your eyedropper. It's also known as frame. You just click on it or choose frame. And if you want to lower the glow, then of course you can do it right there. Or if you want to change how it's moving, you need to go into the timeline and select the material. And you'll see right here is another keyframe. So what you want to do, I'm going to copy it first so I can put it back. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. And you will notice nothing's moving. So what I'm going to do right now is just paste it back. And that's what gives the effect, is it transitioning from this key to this key. So if you want that to be a little different, what you can do is you can come in over so many keys, grab your texture, and if nothing else, just simply rotate it. Move again, rotate it. You'll just need to experiment with different things. And of course you can change that texture out completely as far as this part right here. And you can change your glow.